The court is ready for tip-off. The show begins right now.
The soap opera known as Nico Harrison has finally ended in Dallas. The court starts.
You don't trade away the generational white boys. You don't. You just don't, man. We get them every single time. Thank God we got another one in Cooper Flag, and now we have to build around his 18-year-old cold self. Fellas, this move made perfect sense to me. I think Nico Harrison is now responsible. We will look back in history and say this GM was responsible for one of the worst trades in sports history.
At that time, though, it is important to note there was full alignment in that organization from ownership to Nico Harrison to his staff to Coach Jason Kidd. There was alignment on the potential of trading Luka Doncic. Then it was Nico Harrison, obviously, whose decision it was, whose idea it was, who made the pitch, who made the efforts to trade Luka Doncic, and that's what he got done for.
So Nico Harrison yesterday was relieved of his duties as general manager of the Dallas Mavericks after so much reaction to the trade that happened on February 1st / February 2nd of this year, where he traded Luka for multiple pieces. Anthony Davis was the big piece included. Before I spoke, you heard a couple of clips, and it's one of those things. Trade happened 9 months ago. The Lakers are doing well. Unfortunately, Dallas hasn't been playing well. Kyrie's hurt. AD allegedly is out of shape, and this, that, and the third. It's just one of those things where I can't even go after Nico Harrison. You got a lot of people on social media and on their pod shows spending an hour on this or, talking with other people. This is not a difficult topic. This is a very quick topic to discuss. Folks, at the end of the day, the trade was made for a reason. This wasn't something that they got up in the morning and said, let's make the trade. This was a delegating situation that was going on between Jason Kidd, Nico Harrison, and Patrick Dumont. These three guys and whoever else was a part of this, they were sitting down talking about this, whether it was Luka himself or just something to do with the bottom line is this was something that was kept under pots for a while. The trigger was pulled, and now because they're not playing well, he's the scapegoat. He's the scapegoat. That's all it is. Because I'm sure Patrick Dumont was the one that was like, you got to make this deal. Let's just be 100% real and let's keep it 100. At the end of the day, I look at it like this. Dallas has been very, very intriguing the last few months. July 29th of this year, they hired a guy by the name of Ethan Kaysen. And that was interesting because I'm like, Ethan Kaysen? Who the hell is this guy? And I was like, you got Nico Harrison. Why are you hiring this guy? So that to me was interesting because I was like, okay, this Ethan Kaysen guy, this guy is the president of the Dallas Mavericks. So you didn't have a president. And you decided to hire this guy who was originally with the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Lynx, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden you hire him, he's your president, and just other things just, transpire. But the bottom line is I was shocked at the trade, but I wasn't surprised. Also, what shocked me more was Mark Cuban was no longer the owner of the team. So I was like, wait a minute, Mark Cuban's not the owner anymore? Whoa, 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 what's going on here? So that's where I had to go do my homework and see what was going on, then realize he sold his majority stakes to Addison Dumont. And then the rest is history. So I'm not going to spend 45 minutes on this or 2 hours or 3 hours. I'm going to spend a little amount of time really getting into it to the point where it's like, it's just a blah, blah, blah situation because it's really very simple. Nico Harrison made the deal. It hasn't worked out as far as we see it right now, things could change. This is the NBA. LeBron is coming back for the Lakers soon. Is the chemistry still going to be the same? You know, Kyrie comes back. Maybe Anthony Davis decides to get himself in shape and get himself actually game ready. What I don't understand is why everybody's so like off the walls with this. It's the worst trade in this. If Dallas right now started off 10-1, would it be the worst trade in NBA history? These are the marks and the social mediaites speaking out of emotion. I have no problems with the trade. I understand why the trade happened. And my thing is, to Anthony Davis and Luka for a second, guys who have been known to coming into training camp not in shape, both of them. Michael Jordan had his extracurricular activities, came into camp in shape. Dennis Rodman had his extracurricular activities, came into camp in shape. Magic Johnson had his extracurricular activities, came into camp in shape. Larry Bird had a bad back, came into camp in shape. Patrick Ewing with the bad knees came into camp in shape for his prime years. Not the Seattle or Orlando, but his prime years, Patrick Ewing was ready to go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how these guys, I understand why the Lakers and Dallas made this trade. They had two assets that were not producing to the level that they expected. Now, Luka was producing. He was 5-time All-Pro. I mean, he was phenomenal. Defensively, he was a complete liability, but you could fix that. You could fix that in basketball. You could always fix these things. These things are fixable. You could hide his deficiencies. He's going to get cooked. So what? I think something happened with him and Jason Kidd. Because we all know Rick Carlisle walked away from him. Rick Carlisle is a former NBA champion with Dallas, and Rick Carlisle said, I'm out. See, people are not going back to the essence of the problem here. And that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the essence of the problem. And the essence of the problem is what happened with Rick Carlisle. Why would a coach like Rick Carlisle, who just got to the NBA Finals himself this past June, walk away from a guy like that, who's a superstar, who has all the intangibles offensively to win you something? He just said, nah, I'm out. And Rick Carlisle coached Jason Kidd, and there were no issues. They won a championship together. Jason Kidd came to camp ready to go. So before all this worst trade in the history, everybody's crying and making all sorts of blah, 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 and blather and stuff like that. Jason Kidd and Rick Carlisle were together when they won that championship with Dallas. You don't think that they haven't had conversations about Luka? Come on. So I think Kidd was part of it. I think Patrick Dumont was a part of it. I think Nico was a part of it. Absolutely getting rid of Luka. And I do not disagree with the deal. I understand why the deal happened. From a basketball standpoint, from a business standpoint, and from a preparation standpoint. If you're not prepared, you're not going to do your job properly. So keep that in mind before the rest of you continue to go on social media and just go off with your blathering. So that's the deal with that for me. Indy starting 1-9, OKC starting 10-1. Can it change for Indy? I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can. They got Rick Carlisle. These things happen. They got some injuries. They lost Miles Turner. OKC's got all their pieces. They're continuing to roll after winning a championship. Are they contenders? Absolutely. There's so much factors right now, and there's so much things that we could look at here and say, okay, how further down, can the Pacers go? They'll be fine. Rick Carlisle's a fantastic coach. He'll make the adjustments. They can win 7 in a row, and we're going to say we'll forget about the 1-9 start. So Raptors have won 5 in a row. Boston and Philly battling it out, I think, for the second time in how many weeks? Like, this is the NBA. It's a very slow start to the season. Everybody's getting overreacting, I should say. So But before I finish and conclude this short episode of The Court, Jalen Green is out once again and will be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks. This is a guy who came in after the Kevin Durant trade, which I superbly agreed with. Started his career, his 4-year career, 67 games, 76, 82, and 82. Comes in, misses the first, 7 or 8 games, plays 2 games, averaging 15, 2, and 2, and now he's hurt again. Not coming to camp prepared. And this has been told by a source close to me. Says, yo, this guy was fooling around in the summer. I'm not surprised. If you know Jalen Green, you see the Instagram, you know the personal life situation. I said it before and I'll say it again. If I was the Suns, I would have flipped that guy right away. This is what I'm talking about with these young guys not coming in prepared and ready to play. Hurts the game. It hurts the energy. It hurts the respect, not just the integrity, but just people watching. So, and I ain't going to watch a Phoenix Suns game this year. I have no intentions or no reason to watch that team, whether he's on the team or not. So that's my quick take. That's my whole thing on this situation. And I don't need, like I said, I don't need to spend 10 hours on it. I think everybody understands that the trade happened. Nico Harrison is the scapegoat and life goes on. Things could change drastically. This is the NBA. They got Cooper Flag. They got other pieces. So we'll see how that goes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's another edition of The Court. I'm signing off. Peace.